prices starting at £2,000 for the 49-inch version, going up to £5,000 for the 75-inch version. This here is the 55. It's called the Q7F, F for flat, and there's a Q7C, which is curved, although that is £200 more expensive. First things first, what is QLED or QLED? I should stress that this isn't the QLED that's been theorized on the internet for a few years. That is a lot more like today's OLED technology, which is self-lighting. This is an evolution of Samsung's existing quantum dot technology. What they've done is they've wrapped the quantum dots in a metal alloy and pushed them forward in the TV. And the idea is that you'll get better brightness and contrast, color and viewing angles. I did a brief explainer video when the Q range was first launched this year at CES 2017, so be sure to check that out. On the design front, I think it looks really nice. Samsung's really gone for the premium vibe this year to justify the price tag. There's a lot of metal, the frame is metallic, the stand is mostly metal, and the new remote is pretty much entirely metal as well. I think it's a sort of machined aluminium. It's really nice to handle, it's got a great balance to it, very nice to use. Samsung has once again used the One Connect box, which houses all your connections separately. This year's is massive. It measures 35 centimeters in length and needs its own power supply too. But at least the One Connect cable is more discreet and it's 5 meters long. This is an edge-lit set with a claimed brightness of 1500 nits. That's a little bit less than the Q9, which has 2000 nits claimed brightness, and a little more than the KS9500 from last year, which claims 1000 nits of brightness. High dynamic range compatibility comes from HDR10 and hybrid log gamma. This TV doesn't do Dolby Vision. That's because Samsung has been working on its own version of a metadata-friendly HDR. It calls it HDR10 Plus. It's an open format, and Amazon has already signed up to it. As for performance, well, it's a mixed bag, but I'm pleased to say the good far outweighs the bad. I'll start with the good. It's noticeably brighter than last year's flagship KS9500, but it's not just brighter, it's got more detail in the bright areas too. Now, when I pushed this right up to peak brightness and compared it to Sony's new A1 OLED, the OLED didn't manage quite as much detail in the brights. Although that is typically a problem with OLEDs anyway, you don't have as much detail in bright areas. It doesn't just get brighter, it maintains saturation in the bright areas. In fact, color performance is astonishingly good. The Q7 is just really good at handling all the little extra shades and subtle nuances that you need to give a picture that extra dimension. Motion handling is very good as well. It's got very little in the way of judder or stutter, and I never felt the need to turn on any extra motion processing for help. The bad news is the black performance. Basically, it's not very uniform, which is what you might expect from an LCD TV anyway. I noticed a few instances of clouding and haloing and blooming, and it's partly because of local dimming, or zonal dimming isn't particularly effective in this instance. Maybe it's just a little bit too bright that the dimming just hasn't been able to be effective. I also spotted some occasional bands of light, which is no doubt because of the edge-lit display. Now, Samsung has achieved some really great things here with the brightness and color, but I can't help feeling that this TV would have benefited from a full array local dimming type system. And finally, the viewing angles aren't amazing. This is a shame because one of QLED's selling points was supposedly great viewing angles, and this isn't actually a patch on OLED's viewing angles. If you veer out of about 30 degrees from center, then the colors and contrast start to wash out a little bit. So if you've got people sitting across different parts of the living room, that might not be ideal. It's here that OLED really retains the edge because it's got perfectly uniform blacks. It might not be as bright, but it doesn't suffer from highlights. It doesn't have any halos to worry about. And also the viewing angles are a lot better. You know, you could sit where I'm sitting right now on an OLED and the colors still won't be washed out. Overall, the Samsung Q7 isn't perfect, but I do feel the good outweighs the bad. The brightness and color performance is really amazing. It's not as good in the black areas, and for that, if you watch a lot of dark films or you like to watch in like a blacked out room, then maybe you should stick to OLED. But if you like your TV performance bright and colorful, and you like watching in kind of daytime scenarios, then you really should